which show the works of the law written in their hearts. That's why you would find that they're wearing the fringes and things, because you could tell from the fashion of the clothes also where they sell. Where these people sew, take sew. They picture in their mind what this person would like. But they don't know sometimes these fringes. I just go in store and see these things, you know. And what is big catchy, sometimes it may not have fringe, right? But it gonna have the border blue. Yeah. And you know it is catchy eyes, bro.
Yeah, it is. It's true. It's true.
Anyway, let me finish. It said, which show the works of the law written in their heart, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the mean, while excusing one another. Accusing or excusing one another. That's it, basically.
That's the point here. Yeah, remember
allow us to go into the history, right?
Yeah. Well, let's not go into the history too, right? Because the word Amerindian, as we said earlier, is a compound word of two words, Amerigo and Indian. And I look up the etymology for the word Indian, and it comes from the word India. It says the Indian subcontinent, Central Asia, south of the Himalayas, formerly sometimes used generally for Asia since 1947, specifically in the reference to the Republic of India, Old English, India from Latin, India from Greek, India, region of the Indus River. Later use of the region beyond it of Indus River. So the word Indian goes back to river. And there's a lot of scriptures, like for example, by the rivers of Babylon and so forth. And you know, we will talk about how Israel, you know, the northern kingdom set up their camps or they whatever by the riverside. It's all spiritual, you know, Roman sacrifices.
Alright, let me add a little bit to that, because when you go more into the word Indian, it actually go back to Bakarija. Let's call it Silakya. Like carriage, like someone who carry carriage. This like carriage, right? Yeah. But you know, get next word, man. Anyway, I will look it up more, right? You know, got a similar meaning. Which actually go back to the word what they were called coolie.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. So when you go into more and more into it, which nobody is a coolie, right? The original name is Elam, the Elamites, right? But coolie, an Indian, you can't be an Indian. Neither you can be a coolie.
Yeah.
You understand? Coolie is actually your the occupation. Right? That's your profession. It's a word, it's at the tip of my tongue. Actually a carrier. Right? Someone who carry bags.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
Like carts. They had a lot of carts back then. Before you get trunk. Right? When the goods come, they come coolie. You know, and they would load it off from point to thing.
Like okay, I got tote.
Just like how they get where they say a nigger and these things. When you go into these things, bro, you know what? I want to think you're on the topic. Go ahead.
These words was basically used. It was actually looking for slaves, because the coolie go back to a service person.
Yeah.
Persons that are looking for doing service.
Yeah.
When you look at when Christopher Columbus was coming across here, he was getting actually support from Spain, right, from the king and the queen, to come across it and get slaves in order to build up their kingdom. This was basically he was doing.
Right, so hitting back on the native, because this, you see this the confusion of words. You see people, they will happen for generation to generation. Proverbs and bywords actually become a thing, become a part of a culture, right? You know, like I was going into the word Indian coolie. So in some texts when you read it, go farther to say a mixed people, right?
When you read the nature no color line, it's actually going to something different. You're gonna get more on outdated, but you know, suddenly you just want to give the basic. But actually go back to the same thing, huh? Yeah, but I know you could go a little more deeper. You want it?
No, just want to get the point. right? Because one of the thing why I mention it, one of the thing in Columbus voyaging, right? He went wrong direction first. Then he came around and come back to the Atazaret, which is the so-called South America, right? So he meet one people and were confused with the other. Yeah.
This is Lost Tribes and Promises, The Origins of American Racism by Ronald Sanders, right?
Right, so this book, right, it has more credible information than your so-called Guyana country or home, right? The social study book that they taught us in school, because well, all that they taught us in school was a lie. Basically, it was a lie in history, right? So this book was one of the few books that certain records from Columbus voyaging, he had scribes with him on his voyage. So they were jotting down everything upon how was he bringing in material, going about on planning and these stuff. And Columbus was a well-learned man of the Israelites, right? And we can prove and show that he had known that the Northern Kingdom, right, who the so-called Latinos, Amerindians, Mexicans, they are the Israelites of the Northern Kingdom as well.
And the Mosai was with Columbus. He was witty when along his journey, the Mosai was witty. Because like the river that he was following me going around, he couldn't go through these rivers.
And it was successful.
Everything was successful because it had to go down so.
Yeah.
You understand? But you get that.
Yeah, no, mind you, the Lord being with him, he was heathen.
Yeah,
right? But the Lord being with him, because this history or this piece of prophecy had to be fulfilled.
That's right.
Right? Because he helped ushering certain information to the Israelites today. They guidelines. Yeah, go on.
This is page 77, Enter Columbus. It says, all his life, Columbus's ideas about geography were permeated with a peculiar religious mysticism. We get the word mysticism one time.
Because Columbus was into different books, you know, in his voyaging and so on. Because he come apart, you can mention it there, he come across the book of prophecy, right? And we all know what's the book of the prophecy, right? This is referred to today as the Bible, the Holy Bible, right?
Yeah, mysticism, the beliefs, ideas, or thoughts of mystics, a doctrine of direct communication or spiritual intuition of divine truth.
But if I made quick, right? Because what Columbus was using, he was using the Apocrypha too. He was using the Apocrypha.
That's right.
Point 3, it says a transcendental union of soul, mind, and spirit. But yeah, I guess this is the main point, right? Yeah, it says he kept a book of prophecies.
No, you gotta read it back one more time, man.
Read it from the top.
You missed something. No, the same. They go back into the word. Mysticism.
It says no. Now I'm gonna throw in another big word. It's got to go into the big word.
Yeah, well, go into it. You go into it. I want to point out something.
All right, it says point 3, a transcendental union of soul, mind, or spirit with divine reality.
It said with divine reality
or divinity. Yeah.
Go ahead. Or divinity.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than?
It says obscure thoughts or and speculations.
That's it?
This is it.
All right, good. Continue reading the book.
It says
because why they put it in them terms, right? Is because as much as the book was on geographically, right? Hey, English in Milan, right? Geographically, it was correct. Yeah, I disown that.
Wait.
Yeah, it was correct, right? With the land, with the location and so on, right? And the measurements and the time that they take to do this traveling. Yeah. So that's why he was putting his stuff together. And mind you, he was a Spaniard. That's how they got Spanish. That's how the words and the language came in. That's why the native, they pick up the Spanish language.
The Portuguese and
so on, right? He was a Spaniard. And the king, I think it's a king, the king, or queen, he went for
King Ferdinand.
yeah, he went for
King Ferdinand.
King Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Right? He went for we call it for permission. This called permission to go ahead on this voyage.
Actually, like a license.
For funding.
Yeah.
For funding.
And also funding, right? Yeah, funding because it took a year and a half. And remember, this is the first time he going on this voyage. So in case any misturn or you have to get a backup, right?
So it says he kept a book of prophecies in which he collected quotations, mostly from the Bible.
You see?
Often,
Mostly from the Bible, he collected these quotations.
Right.
Because
It does sound like Muhammad a little bit though.
Yeah, he
did that too.
yeah.
He did that too.
Can.
Yeah.
we can get some and then later
It says often those dealings with the isles afar off that seem this whole paragraph here.
No, do the blue.
Yeah.
We can jump about, forget some points.
Yeah, do it.
It says a striking element in Columbus' geographical religiosity. Wow. Religiosity to is intense and abiding interest in the 4th or 2nd book of Esdras. 2 apocryphal books of Esdras purport to be additional writings by and about the Old Testament Ezra.
Exactly. The Old Testament Ezra, that's the proof, right? You know, the Apocrypha, right? It's actually a part of the Bible. It's not only, what they call it, 63 books. It wasn't only 63 books. You had 14 other books missing, you know, which does what the word Apocrypha means, hidden books. So in the
Vatican, we see what you
you see, the Vaticans, right? Going back to Vata meaning serpent, and can or prophet. No, slack you. Anyway, the word's going to basically prophet of the serpent, right? It's can was serpent, and Vata going to prophet. Yeah, stand corrected, but the word Vatican actually means the prophet or the serpent. Right? Just going back into Revelation, it's talking about the prophet of Babylon. Right? There.
And it's only right too because if it's not the prophet of the Lord, remember the Most High make everything double.
Yeah.
You know?
It's talking about false prophet.
Yahushua also is called the serpent.
That's right.
You see?
Just like how
He's also called Lucifer.
That's right. Right there.
He also is the Lucifer.
He also is the morning star.
He is, you know. But he used to just.
So just like how they got priests of Baal, they got priests of Yahweh. So you gotta understand everything is duality, you know.
Yeah, God.
Balance.
Yeah, so the book of Esdras is actually a part of the Bible.
Exactly.
That's right.
Right? And Columbus was using the same, like we mentioned earlier, the geographical location of these places. Right? Specifically a second Esdras 13. Right?
Yeah, chapter 8, finish on now. You want to read on today?
This is good. You could catch here.
Yeah. Chapter 8, right?
Columbus,
Which is page 92.
Golden World.
Columbus says golden world. It says we do not know much, is the second paragraph. We do not know much concerning Columbus's crew of about 90 men aboard the three ships, but at least one of them was an Israelite whose presence as such as was not merely accidental. This was Louis de Torres, a convert of possibly only that year, who had once held a position with the governor of Murcia.
Because on this voyage, right, he knew, right, because remember he was using the book of prophecy, the Bible. So he had known the Israelite, they were Hebrew Israelite, they spoke in Hebrew. So he had to get an Israelite from the south, from the southern kingdom, right, to bring, in his voyage, to actually translate for him. Right, go on.
It says, he was said to have known Hebrew, Aramaic, and some Arabic. and had been brought along by Columbus specifically
So
as
you
an
see,
interpreter.
Hebrew and Aramaic, right, which is the close language. Because you mind you,
Syrian captivity.
they were in the Syrian captivity, and there was also of American language.
It says one of the purposes of the voyage.
So hold on, why would he use those two, right? That man with those you know, the knowledge of the knowledge, right? Going
A
to
linguist, if you will.
yeah, with the same location, right? Using Esdras to find the people. And we know throughout history who's the people he came and you know, he oppressed, right? Which are the so-called native to me. They're Spanish, Hispanic, right?
It says, and it's interesting, it says Columbus's golden world, right? It says one of the purposes of the voyage, as we have seen, was to find the great Khan, and Torres was to be the mouthpiece for the encounter, presumably on the basis of his Hebrew.
All right, good. So that's one point to show that was Torres' main purpose here, right?
Did we get the other one? Did we get that? I know if I kind of misplaced it. So I thought
No, it isn't. I just want to get a point.
talk about when you speak any language.
Yeah.
Going in.
Get from the get from this. Read from this.
Hey. I think. Chapter 30, verse page 361. A lost tribe discovered in New York. It says upon his return to Cartagena, the Judaizing Montezenos.
Because you see, Montezenos was from Judah, right?
Had found himself accused by the Inquisition and put in prison. Praying for salvation in his cell one day, he was reciting what was by then a standard formula. Formula among the New World Moranos. Blessed be the name of Yahweh, of the Lord. I read first. Blessed be the name of the Lord, who has not made me an idolater, a barbarian, a Negro, an Indian. When he suddenly stopped those Indians, he told himself, they are Hebrews.
They are what?
They are Hebrews.
The Indians were Hebrew, right? Montezino is not known. Jump down. Yeah.
Jump down to
third chapter, fourth paragraph.
Yeah. Fifth paragraph, whatever. It says, waving a banner high in the air, the Indian guide soon was greeted by a puff of smoke far beyond the other bank of the river. In response to his signal, two men waited. Eventually, a canoe appeared bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indians, to the place where Francisco and Montezinos were standing in the water's edge. The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montezinos could not understand. Although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation, she then turned to her male companions and explained the situation. Upon hearing her words, they arose and went over to Montezinos, and to this utter astonishment said, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, which the real Hebrew would be Shema Yisrael Yahweh Elohayinu or Yahweh Echad, right?
Because they actually, even in that time, they used the Paleo Hebrew, right? Why they had it, why it's written also here in that language, because remember they went through the Assyrian captivity and it was also Aramaic, right?
Yeah, which would translate into, Hear, O Israel, our Lord, the Lord, our power, the Lord is one.
Somebody could get the Deuteronomy chapter 4.
6 and 4.
6 and 4. Right? Just to show that, you know, the Spirit bears witness that we are the children of the Most High.
Yep.
Ready?
Yeah. It's Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 4. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh your power is one.
You see? And this the fundamental creed. This is what the Israelites they were chant. Right? Giving Yahweh Hashem your shy praise.
I read it in Hebrew.
Hebrews Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Shema Yasharala, Yahweh al-Hayanawa, Yahweh al-Hayanawa akkad.
It says they had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism.
Right? Why? Because on this side, they know it as Judaism. Right? They are the only known the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Because at the time, well, we were slaves. Right? We were passing through captivity after captivity. You know? And they had known that those people are Judites. And to their astonishment that the people was, that's why Montesinos was shot. Because there's astonishment, these Indians were speaking his language and using the same creed. Right? Or the Israelites. That's why they could read back the John for me. Yahushua said, other sheep I have that are not of this fold, they also I must bring. Right? Anybody get? Yeah, yes,
This is St. John 10 and verse 16. All the sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd.
Going back into Ezekiel 37, when it's talking about the two sticks coming together. Right? You get that?
Yeah. This is Ezekiel 37. You want to read it? What?
Yeah, this is Ezekiel 37, verse 15. It says, the word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions.
For Judah represent Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Right? And the Israel and his companions. We're talking about the other tribes. Yeah, the other tribes. The other 9 tribes, where the scripture says 10, because even amongst them, even amongst the native, they had some Levi and Benjamin, right? That went up. We could read the history in 2 Kings, right? Because even though the northern they went up, they had priests among them that were keeping certain laws, but mixing it with the heathen culture. Right? Yeah.
There it says, and for the children of Israel, his companions, then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions.
Yeah. Right, and this to symbolize that.
Verse 17, it says, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand.
Right, and this they right here, right? This bracket and these names over here gonna be removed. And Israel, all Israel, going to repent, starting with the elect, and turn back to these names in the Hebrew form. Right? This is basically where they just scattered today. Right? And these are the people the lesson is mainly based on. Coming from the bottom, from Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, right? Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, Asher, and Issachar. Right? Then if you go watch mostly among the Caribbean country, the northern kingdom scattered. Yeah, you got me.
I have precepts.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, bring them up.
One ago. Alright, let me get this one here. This is Isaiah 11 and 13. It said, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversity of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim.
Because what? Judah, the so-called blacks, talk very stink about the native, the Indians, who are also Israelites. right? And the native, they speak bad also about the so-called Negroes who are Judahites, right? So they don't do away with. They all doing that and they all is happening because they're ignorant, right? The enmity gonna move.
Yeah, and that too also, remember the scripture tell me in the book Deuteronomy 28 that it's gonna be upon us for what? A sign and a wonder.
That's right.
So they hating each other in the world because we don't do that among ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? They hating themselves in the world and showing you that you are the chosen people of the Most High.
Right. That's right.
You know? Yeah, I just want to say that.
Yeah, this is Hosea chapter 9 and verse 16. It says, Ephraim is smitten, his roots is dried up, they shall bear no fruit. It says, yea, they bear fruit, yet will I slay even the beloved fruits of the womb. It says, my power will cast them away before. Stop here. It says, my power will cast them away because they did not hearken unto him, and there shall be wanderers among the nations. And so there's them now, wandering among the nations. That's why you could find them, in the interior area, they're scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
Quick one. Yeah, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 2. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols.
See that? Yeah. Watch. When you even watch it, the dress code of the woman now.
Yeah.
You saw this makeup, the Frenches?
Yeah.
Where they get it from?
Yeah.
Where they get it from?
Going back to the same Shemite because Ishmael, who they, you could zoom in
Back to the
Ishmael, who they actually follow the followers of Muslims, right? Because the Muhammad followers, remember he's descendant of Ishmael, which was a brother of Isaac. No, Muhammad, a descendant of Ishmael, which was the son of Abraham, right? Of the slave woman, right? The bond woman, and the brother of Isaac, who was the seed of the chosen, the seed of the right. So the laws he were following under the house of Moses, right, going back to the fringes and so on.
If I might add, Abraham circumcised Ishmael too.
If I might add also too, the Southern Kingdom was also in the trans-Saharan slave trade. A lot of our people was under the oppression of so-called Arabians, right, which are the Ishmaelites, right? So our people, because the Spirit bear witness that we are those people, our people maintain those customs among them.
They became convert.
Right, they became convert, but they still kept the fringes among them. Because when you look at the Arabians, right, they got these long gongs, but they don't put fringes on it. I talk about the sheiks, them and them, they don't got it.
They got some borders.
Right, but they would wear the headbands and these things with the fringes, but bear in mind, Israel is among them. Israel is among them.
That is discontinue from our heritage.
Quick one, brother. To ask, this is one of the tools that they use, to enslave the Israelites, right? And even up until this day, right, they be using it and they don't even know what consists of it. They don't know the history. Like it says in Isaiah, chapter 1 of verse 3, Israel do not know, my people do not consider. Right? Let me just get a piece of surah for you. As sure it got some Ishmaelites watching on this end. Right? This is out of the Quran, the recital. Right? What they recite? The book of the prophecy. Right? The Bible. Right? This is 2nd Surah, this is Surah 2. Right? Read verse 40. It says, "O children of Israel, call to mind the favor which I bestowed upon you, and fulfill your covenant with me as I fulfill my covenant with you, and fear none but me." verse 47. It says, O children of Israel, call to mind the special favor which I bestowed